She may not even realize it, but every time she walks into a room with her hijab, the people around her adjust. Some out of respect, some out of discomfort, and some because they're curious. Regardless of intention, behavior shifts. Because the hijab isn't passive, it's active. It changes the dynamic, it sets boundaries, it signals values. Albert Bandura called this reciprocal determinism. It means we don't just react to our environment, we also shape it. So every woman who wears the hijab isn't just adapting to culture, she's influencing it. She becomes both the learner and the teacher, both the observer and the model. Her mere presence becomes a mirror to others, showing them a different way to carry oneself. A way that isn't always loud, but always clear. People watch her, but they don't always understand what they're seeing. Some might think it's oppression, some might think it's outdated. But here's the truth: nobody watches something they consider weak. People only challenge what makes them feel something. And the hijab does just that. It evokes reactions, internal questions, sometimes admiration, sometimes discomfort. But it always leaves an impression. Think about how Bandura emphasized vicarious reinforcement, the idea that we learn from watching others get rewarded or punished. When people see a hijabi woman being respected, being confident, being unapologetically herself, others notice. Even if they don't agree, they internalize the connection between her behavior and the outcome she gets. That's modeling at its highest level, not through preaching, but through presence. And the most powerful modeling is always silent. It doesn't scream, it doesn't demand attention, it earns it through consistency, through conviction, through calm, quiet strength. But there's another layer, one that's emotional, one that goes beyond what Bandura wrote in theories. The hijab isn't just a piece of cloth. For many, it's a shield, a comfort, a way to reclaim control in a world that often objectifies. When a woman wraps it around herself, she's not hiding, she's revealing. Not her body, but her values, her boundaries, her inner voice. And when men see that, something happens. Not always instantly, not always consciously, but over time, they begin to learn. That power doesn't have to shout. That beauty isn't only skin deep. That presence isn't only about posture, it's about purpose. That's what happens when you stop reacting. When you choose to live by your own code, not theirs. You model a new standard, one they can't ignore, one they may not understand, but they feel it. And feelings teach us more than facts ever could. Here's the final portion of the expanded 10-minute script, continuing seamlessly and concluding with an emotionally resonant ending, still without headings. There's a moment, subtle but profound, when the man who once mocked or misunderstood begins to pause. He notices not just what she wears, but how she carries it, how she walks with calm confidence, how she engages the world without chasing validation. And slowly, unknowingly, he begins to unlearn everything he thought he knew about strength, femininity, and dignity. It doesn't happen in one glance. It builds, over days, weeks, interactions. Every time she walks past with her gaze lowered but her spine straight, every time she chooses not to respond to provocation with anger but with silence that cuts deeper than any words, he learns. And what he learns is this: you cannot shame someone who owns their choices. You cannot weaken someone whose power comes from within. And you cannot control someone who never needed your approval to begin with. Albert Bandura taught us that behavior is shaped by environment, but also that the individual can reshape the environment. Every woman who wears her hijab with pride is reshaping how people see faith, womanhood, and resilience. She is not passive, she is not background. She is the quiet center of the room, still, unmoved, commanding without a single word. That's the power of non-reaction. That's the psychology of detachment. And that's how men begin to mirror the calm strength they once didn't understand. So the next time someone wonders why she wears it, they might not get an answer. But if they keep watching her, they'll find one. And that answer will live in how she moves, how she lives, and how she refuses to be defined by anything but her own values. You don't need to explain when your life becomes the message. You don't need to argue when your choices become the mirror. And when you stop reacting, the world slowly starts learning. If this touched something inside you, comment below. What does the hijab mean to you? Like if you've ever found strength in silence. Subscribe to grow with us, one quiet revolution at a time.